From Resident Evil to Demon's Souls, remakes are all the rage nowadays. The 90s nostalgia market isn't going anywhere. Not when there are cows still left to be milked. And let's be frank, we all get excited whenever these remakes get announced. So quite clearly, we still want them. And today's bit of news shows that Square Enix is aware of this fact, and are already preparing to remake even more games. Just today, Polish company Forever Entertainment has announced a deal with Square Enix to create multiple remakes around one singular Japanese IP. It's unclear if multiple remakes means something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, whether it's a single story divided into multiple games, or if it's multiple games in a series that are all being remade. With the announcement from Forever Entertainment saying, quote, "The purpose of the contract is to create and release several game remakes based on one IP owned by Square Enix Japan. The name of this IP will be made public in a separate report once the global marketing campaign begins. Remakes of all games will feature new visuals, but the gameplay and scenario will remain the same as the original version." So whatever it is that they're working on, it's pretty clear that it's going to be a lot closer to a one-for-one remake than the sort of reimagined remakes that we've seen from such things as Resident Evil 2 or FF7R. However, one thing that we know for sure is that they're remaking more than just one game. At least, from this wording we can conclude that. And it all comes from one IP, meaning that they're probably remaking a whole series. The announcement then continues by saying, quote, "For its participation in the project, Forever Entertainment will receive a significant portion of the revenue, more than 50%, from each game sold on all platforms." So that's kind of a lot of money. Whatever it is that they're remaking, they're going to be receiving more than half of the money made. Granted, for Square Enix, it's still a pretty good deal, as they don't have to expend their own internal resources in order to do it. But that's a lot of money. The report then continues by saying, quote, "Acquiring classic IPs and creating new productions or remakes on their basis is one of the important directions of the company's development, the effectiveness of which has been confirmed by the success of Panzer Dragoon Remake. For those of you who don't know, one of the company's most recently released games is the remake of Panzer Dragoon." Continuing, they say, quote, "The company will cover the costs related to the performance of the above agreement from its own funds." Which, depending on how you read that statement, it seems they might be funding the cost of development themselves, and that might explain why Square Enix would be willing to give up such a significant portion of revenue. Now the question becomes, which IP are they going to be remaking? Final Fantasy VIII? Well, the last time they tried outsourcing a Final Fantasy remake to another company, that didn't work out too well, so my next guess will get a lot of you maybe too excited, but quite possibly remakes of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross? After all, they pretty much remade all the Mana games so far, so at this point it's just like, why not remake the Chrono series? After all, they did say the gameplay and scenario remain mostly the same as the original version, with it mostly being a one-for-one remake with brand new visuals. Aside from anything with the name Final Fantasy on it, I can't think of any game more demanded from Square Enix to get a remake than Chrono Trigger. And I also think people would really love to see an HD version of Chrono Cross. And also, Parasite Eve, anybody? Though I do have some doubts that it could be Parasite Eve, I kind of imagine if there was an HD remake of Parasite Eve, that it would do a lot more than just create new visuals for the game. From the way Nomura and Kitase have talked about it before, it seems like they wanted to do something closer to what 7R is doing, where it reinvents the gameplay more than what it previously was. And again, judging from the description, this seems a lot closer to a one-for-one remake. Whatever it is though, it probably will be a few years before we see whatever it is that comes out of this, as this agreement was signed relatively recent. Until then, however, let's keep speculating. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let me know in the comments below what game you think this could possibly be a remake of. Shout out to patron Wyatt Downey and the rest of the Ultima community.